that's where he started, and then he just broke out to be this phenomenal filmmaker. Like,
yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our 31 Days of Halloween here on the channel. It is October 11th, and we have a double feature for you today. This is going to be awesome. We're doing A Quiet Place Part 1 and A Quiet Place Part 2. We're not doing the new A Quiet Place Day 1. We wanted to kind of cover just the original 2 films. So that's what we got in store for you today. These movies are fantastic. And I know I say that a lot about a lot of the movies on this list that we've created for this year's Halloween, but like, I just can't praise these movies enough. Before we get too far into it, please hit that like and subscribe button down below and go over to patreon.com/thecalvacam. Join one of our 3 tiers over there. It really helps us out. We are growing at a good pace and we love doing this. So I'm super, super excited to pump out more content, and thank you all. So
yeah, everything helps. Every donation, every subscriber, all of it helps the channel grow.
Yeah. So Quiet Place Part 1, and we'll start there. We'll start with Part 1 first. This was Anthony's first time watching both of these films.
Yeah, this was my first time watching, and I'm sure you want my perspective on it.
I do. I really want to know what you thought.
Knowing John Krasinski, Jim in The Office, everybody knows him as from The Office, and Jack Ryan, the Amazon show. Is it the Amazon show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it is. Everyone say that I'm wrong in the comments. This movie for him, starting his own universe, like the whole look of it for the post-apocalyptic theme. We already have a sense of being quiet to not alert, creatures of this, of apocalyptic behavior like zombies. And we have it with Last of Us with clickers, but this is different. These creatures, they have sound. They hear every sound,
everything,
like every sound, every footstep, everything. So, seeing this movie and how it starts out, like, okay, these creatures are for real, and if you make sound, you're pretty much fucked. I love the sense of the immersion it gives you, not having any sound at all in the score. Like, you get some dialogue once John Krasinski takes his son to a waterfall and he says it's okay, and then he screams and to show him that it's okay to speak. So then that's the first time we get dialogue, but I like the whole sense of the immersion of this experience. Like, it gets you into the movie, into this atmosphere, into this universe. Watching this on my home theater, it was breathtaking with that. Even when you do hear sound, it is awesome. I also liked the pacing in this movie. I know it's really slow, and not having any dialogue kind of like might killed it for some people, but I just thought it was well portrayed. The shot selection, the lighting, just the look of this film is really, really good. I like the whole set design based on these creatures. I also like the sense of family. Like, this is a family bond. And it's a really good family dynamic, even though they have a loss of their son in the very beginning. One of the creatures takes him because, his sister's deaf, I think.
Sister is deaf.
So, she just wants, her brother to have, some sort of play in this world. And they say, no, you can't take the space shuttle. And then she ends up just saying, shh, take it. And then he takes the batteries, and then that's when that happens. But just the whole beginning of this film, and it's just a great film. Like, for John doing this, it's just like his universe is cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like I said, I really, really love what you were saying about the family dynamic. I think that's the part of this movie that sticks out the most for me, because I really love all of the characters and all of their chemistry is so well portrayed. And John Krasinski has like such a clear vision that he was able to just depict throughout this film. And I think that it works so well, and it makes the immersion so much more like real, because like I remember watching this for the first time. I watched this with my wife, and we were just like, we were quiet in the theater watching this movie. Like, I mean, normally we're quiet. I'm not one to like talk a whole bunch in the movies, but like I was looking around at all the people in there with us, and everybody's just dead silent, because like that's the effect that this movie gave. It did exactly what it intended to do, and kept everybody on the edge of their seats, and everybody was silent. So I really really like enjoyed my experience watching this movie. And also, the atmosphere of this movie is just really really beautiful, and it's like elegant but also eerie. Just like like you've said, there are many post-apocalyptic shows. There are so many different apocalypses that we've seen at this point. This is such a like, it's peaceful because it's quiet, but at the same time, it's eerie because it's like, oh, like you really can't make sound, or else it's over for you.
You're in danger.
Yeah. And it's not saying that these creatures aren't like, invincible. They are vulnerable. We don't get to see that till the end of the movie, but it's just such an interesting concept of these creatures appearing and then just taking over, and they're not like any kind of other apocalypse we've had. Like most things are like zombies, or I guess like if you want to compare things to like Terminator, stuff like that, that's a little bit more fast. But like in the horror genre, like zombies and stuff, it's kind of slower. Yeah, 28 Days Later did have like running zombies, probably the scariest zombies. But this is like, these creatures are fast and like don't care, don't it just is a wild ride. John Krasinski is incredible for creating this. He directed, produced, wrote, and starred in this film, and I think that he is one of the few people that I've ever seen accomplish that perfectly. Like,
yeah, I was so amazed just from, I love Jim in The Office, and I think everyone does love The Office, but it's just like, it seems like that's where he started, and then he just broke out to be this phenomenal filmmaker. Like,
yeah,
this movie just like is so well done. I loved it. It was just like, I love zombies. I love post-apocalyptic themed movies. And just like the whole thing with the sound of these creatures and how you had to be quiet, and just how he put it all together. Like, there's even he was even doing his own research in the basement, like on a sound emitting, because he knows that these creatures are affected by sound. And you see that because when they start detecting and they want a sense to like locate someone, they open their earlobes, and their sense of sound goes up. And I think that he was probably doing this research before because his daughter's deaf, and he was probably doing some sort of hearing aid for her or something. I just get that from just knowing that she was deaf. I didn't know that until later in the film. I'm like, well, this is really well done with this aspect being part of the story of this character. I thought that was really cool. And I liked how, I forgot the character's name, but his daughter, how she, he gave her this, and then she used it and found out the creature's weakness, which was really cool. And it kind of boosted the morale in the family, Emily Blunt's character. And she's like, wow, my husband did this. And I just love how, they use it to battle these creatures.
Yeah. And where they live at their house, like they have a whole setup. Clearly John Krasinski's character, what's his name? I feel like it's just John or something. It's Lee. Lee Abbott. So Lee, his made such a like kind of, it's not necessarily a fortress, but it's definitely a home base. They have a light system for detection, warning. They send out a fire every night, and I think that that's really cool. It's still like touching on the humanity that still is there and existing, and kind of just like how it makes you as a viewer want to see how much this has affected the world. And this movie is very contained just to this small area, but like that sense of wonder is there the whole time, especially when they're doing the like daily tasks that John Lee has like going for them. They have a whole crop field. They have all of these regular chores that they do, and it's cool. And again, it plays onto that family dynamic, which are really cool. I love this movie a lot. It's not necessarily a con of the movie itself, but things that I hate about this movie that made my blood boil. I hated that Reagan, his daughter's character, was like the cause of a lot of shit. And like, it makes sense because not only is she a kid and she's also deaf, I sympathize with her because she can't hear sound at all, really. I mean, probably like minimal, but like she can't hear sound. So when she's doing her tasks normally, like she's unaware if she ever messes up because she's deaf. So, but she's also a child, and you see her carry so much of the weight of the death of their little son, because of the battery thing. And you see that it was ultimately like it's hard to say because it's like it is her fault, but I also get it from a parent's standpoint, like it's not her fault. Like, you can't just blame her. It's a hard world to live in that they're going through and they're experiencing. So,
and I feel like during the most of this film, there's a lot of scenes showing that they're still grieving about loss of their their child. They're like really grieving about it, and then you can see that Regan, the character, she's feels like despair because she's like, what did I didn't mean to do anything, and she just feels all this guilt through the whole movie, and you kind of see that like when John goes with his son up there to the mountain to do fishing and then to talk to him. He's like, why didn't you let her come? And it's like that. And he's like, do you hate her or do this and that? He goes, no, of course not. I love her. He's just dealing with his guilt in a different way.
Yep. Yeah. And there's that whole subplot.
Yeah.
So this movie just touches on so many heavy obstacles in the background that you won't see unless you're really like deep diving into it. Another thing that I really love about this movie is I love the death of Lee. I think that his character dying is so it's tragic, and it truly moved me because he as a father, as a family man, like I would do the same thing in a heartbeat. Like because he finally tells her that he does love her. He's always loved her. Like there's no like not her fault. And like that grief kind of has its like closure, you know what I mean? At least for those two characters. But then they eventually like go on to grieve about Lee, in the second movie. So, yeah, A Quiet Place 1. Let's jump to A Quiet Place 2. Now, what do you think of this movie?
It's awesome. I think it literally just follows off where Quiet Place 1 left off. You do get some day one backstory on how this event occurs. You're also introduced to we know Cillian Murphy's in this movie, and it seems like Cillian Murphy and them were friends before this happened. Because isn't that him at the baseball game?
Yep.
And he's with his son.
Yep.
And so it leaves off. They know that the kids in the family know that it isn't safe here anymore, and they have to leave the homestead. They have to leave their their home behind and go out into the real world and see, what it's like to live out in the real world now with other people. And they start wandering out, and then they stumble upon Killian. And Killian's like, he's in the scope of his rifle scanning, and the son gets he gets caught in one of his bear traps, so his legs all screwed up, and he's making tons of noise. And it's just cool how they're already a strong unit because they've been in this world and they've been living in it. And it just shows, even Emily Blunt's character and Regan, they battle this, and I think Killian sees that, okay, these guys can hold their own. I'll help them out. Mm-hmm. And he kills one of the creatures and then takes them to his little hideout.
Yep.
And Killian is I think he's just surviving day by day, but he's still like, he thinks that the world is just destroyed. There's nothing left in the world. There's no one good in the world, like, at all. He thinks that everyone's out to kill each other and just they're surviving.
Yep.
And he says that in scenes, is like, I've seen it. I know what I'm talking about, blah, 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 blah. And you see, a coldness of his character, but then you see it later as Regan goes out. Regan goes like, I'm going to do something about this. Like, I'm going to go find people, that there's got to be more people here.
Yeah.
And she goes out, and Emily Blunt's like, you got to go get her. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just spontaneous. She's always been like that. Then she goes out and she gets stopped. She's trying to get supplies for her brother's leg. Like, she goes to a train car and she finds a first aid kit, and she makes noise and she gets trapped. But then Cillian's there. Killian, I always mess up his name. He comes and to her rescue and says, what are you doing? This, that. And that the thing is, she brings her little, the thing, the ear, the seismic ear thing, which which Lee, her father, was developing this thing, that she brings it with her for protection. And during that time of them trying to come back, I think that Killian's character kind of sees that this girl's strong, like,
yeah.
And I was wrong about her overall. She is a strong little child, and she wants to stand up and protect her family.
Yeah, Killian is a crazy, crazy character in this movie. Like, I think that he is just he experienced this apocalypse in a completely different manner. And the Abbott family, they were contained in the first movie, but now they have to venture out. They're venturing out into the world. They don't know what it's like outside of their little circle in the woods. And so we kind of get just the exploration of what is out there. And it's also very, very interesting, because it has you as an audience like on the edge of your seat of like, okay, what is out there? What kind of things are out there? And we kind of get a glimpse of that just through what Cillian Murphy has experienced from what he says. And yeah, he is kind of a flawed character because he is like dealing with a lot of grief himself. You find out that his son died. You find out his wife died. Like, he is carrying a lot himself, but just he's been by himself. So he is definitely taking things a lot harsher and reacting to things a lot differently. And it's kind of like the Abbott family pulls him back from like this darkness and like shows him a brighter path, shows him like there is hope in this apocalypse world. And on top of that, like he saves all of them multiple times in this movie. And he even he saves Regan from the cannibals. Like, we get to see a glimpse of that group. And then that's kind of when we also see another major weakness of these creatures is they can't swim. They will drown. And so that's why there is a, society or commune on one of the neighboring islands of where they're at. So because the creatures can't reach them. So that's also a really cool world building thing that we get. And we also get introduced to some other cool characters from this franchise. Uh, what's his name? De-
Digimon Hisu.
Digimon Hisu Hansu. Yeah, I always like.
I can't pronounce his name.
It's a wonderful, beautiful name. I think that he is one of the greatest actors. Because he's in so many things and he always acts like his heart out in every single thing that he's in.
The first thing I've ever seen him in is Gladiator.
Oh
that
my
was
God,
the
yeah.
first movie I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, and I think that was the first movie I ever saw him in too.
He has that line. He's like, "Today's your day, but not yet." He says, "Not yet."
Yeah, so he is incredible, and we get introduced to him. And if you are a fan of this franchise and you have watched the newest one, he is a major character in the newest Quiet Place movie. So that's a cool little like Easter egg that people who haven't seen this movie should know. And if you've only seen the third one, you should definitely watch the other ones. But this is such a great film, and I have so much love for it. If you were to rate these two films, how would you feel?
These two films are excellent. I mean, I think it's just the way it picks up in the second film. I could just totally say it. The experience of the first two films doesn't really change. So, I'd say everything, to the look, to the characters, to the acting, to the story, everything is like perfect in this movie. I'm gonna give both of them 5s. That's just my personal opinion.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. I think that these movies are both perfect. I was telling my wife last night after I was watching them, I was like, I don't like any one of them more than the other.
Yeah.
I think that they're both fantastic films, and I think that they are perfect all the way around. I think John Krasinski has really done something really special, and these are an all-time stick of movies that are, I mean, this franchise building too. Like, I heard that he's in development of making the part 3. So we'll have a part 3.
It'll be interesting to see. I wanted one last thing I'll add. I just like the character building. Like these kids at the end, you see the final scenes of the kids. Like these kids are growing up and they know they need to protect their family if they're going to survive in this world. And
not to mention the baby too.
Yeah.
I forgot we haven't even talked about the baby.
We didn't talk about the baby. The baby.
That's a whole different dynamic.
And how they they took care of the baby by having it in the box and giving it oxygen and keeping it from secluded so it wouldn't make noise. Cause it's like, I always thought it was like, how are they going to survive in this world with this baby?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like that, just the protection of family. And in the end, you see that, Regan does her thing and she goes to the radio station as a beacon to emit sound to like hopefully defending, humanity against these creatures. So that I thought that part of it was good. I wanted to add that before we ended this.
No, totally. I think that was worth mentioning. So, yeah. Like I said, this is a growing franchise. Part 3's potentially on its way. We know that there's a AAA Quiet Place game coming out. There's trailers for it. It's an FPS. It looks awesome and creepy. And I'm just excited to see more. I'm excited to see more and live in this world a little bit more. So, with that being said, some fun facts. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into some fun facts for this movie.
Fun facts for both of these movies. So we will start with A Quiet Place. Numero uno. Okay. The film's director and male lead John Krasinski played the creature in a motion capture suit for a few scenes.
Interesting. That is really cool. I like that John's just whole involvement in his
universe. Actress Millicent Simmons, which is Reagan, has been deaf since infancy due to a medication overdose. This was the second film she starred in, with Wonderstruck in 2017 being her first. So she's actually a deaf actress too.
That's cool. I mean, it's tragic about her thing, but
Yeah.
it's cool that she's done this as an actress.
Yeah, she's pretty. I was looking at her IMDb earlier, and she's got a lot of stuff going. Emily Blunt did the bathtub scene in one take. According to John Krasinski, as soon as he said cut, Blunt left the character and asked the crew, "What's everyone having for lunch?" Also, if anybody didn't know, Emily Blunt is John Krasinski's wife in real life as well. So that's a really cool fact. The filmmakers purchased 20 tons of corn and hired local farmers to grow it. So another really awesome thing about filmmaking is sometimes productions give back to the world.
Yeah, it's cool. That's a really good fact too.
Actor-director John Krasinski has said that the single greatest compliment he received regarding the film was in a tweet from the master of horror himself, Stephen King. "A Quiet Place is an extraordinary piece of work. Terrific acting, but the main thing is the silence and how it makes the camera's eyes open wide in a way few movies have managed."
That's cool.
That is awesome. There are real family photos of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt and their children used in this film.
That's cool. It's probably in the farmhouse.
Probably. The opening sequence was the last to be shot, so as it required John Krasinski to shave most of his beard. In the opening grocery store scene, the shelves are mostly empty except for the aisle with potato chips. This was because nobody wanted to risk making noise that would attract the monsters. That's funny. That's funny.
It is funny.
That's funny. Let's see. The device Reagan wears is not a hearing aid, but a cochlear implant. The movie only contains about 25 lines of voice dialogue, although sign language dialogue is used extensively. It was shot in 36 days. Fast production.
So good for
Yeah.
that period of time.
Let's see. One more for part one. The film's premise about the need to maintain silence was compelling enough that many audiences at screenings grew unusually quiet themselves. As such, eating and making any noise in the auditorium was frowned upon by viewers. Consequently, concession stand sales, a major income stream for movie theaters, were limited for audiences of the film.
Nice.
That's funny.
It
But
is
yeah,
funny.
that's
but,
what.
But you talked about that in the beginning
exactly
with
what I was
yourself, so
saying.
you were one of those people.
All right, moving on to part two. Here we go. The youngest of the Abbott family's son, Bo, is played by young actor Cade Woodward in the first film. In the opening flashback scenes of the second movie, Bo is played by Cade's younger brother, Dean Woodward.
Oh, so that's the younger brother that gets taken by the creatures thing?
Mm-hmm. Yes. The film's budget was 3 times the size of the first movie. You can see that. On the Big Picture podcast, John Krasinski stated that he originally did not want to be involved in this sequel, but the producer convinced him to come over and pitch his ideas to the studio. After 3 weeks, they asked him to write the story with the idea that directorial duties would be handed over to other filmmakers. Krasinski finally offered to come back as director, jokingly suggesting that he was Jedi mind tricked into signing on to the sequel.
That's funny.
It is funny. After seeing the first film, Cillian Murphy said in an interview, "I wrote this email to John after watching the first, how much I enjoyed the film and congratulating him on it. Then I chickened out and I never sent it. I was like, you don't need to be doing that. He's a busy man. He doesn't need to hear some from some actor. 1 year later, he was cast as the lead in the sequel.
That's funny.
Let's see. According to John Krasinski, in the opening town scene, he passed by Brody's Pizzeria, a nod to the character Chief Brody from Steven Spielberg's Jaws.
That's hilarious. So many cool things.
Yeah. John Krasinski has said he wrote the first film as a love letter to his children. This is something he wanted to continue, and that's why he wanted to write himself into the new film's opening.
Sweet. Another good one.
This film was shot in 47 days, which is 11 days more than the first movie. Still a short production.
Still as equally as amazing as the first film.
Let's see. Let's do one more. How about that?
All right.
Cillian Murphy watched A Quiet Place at the cinema with his two sons, and the sons were scared of the film. Murphy immediately told his kids after deciding to appear in the sequel, and they were excited. No way, A Quiet Place 2, the kids said.
Nice.
So that's awesome.
That is cool.
All right, that's going to be it for the fun facts for these movies. Again, 5 out of 5. Highly recommend these movies. Go watch them right now and check out the third one too. But that's going to be it for day 11, and we will catch you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow for our next episode.